A locked room, a missing fortune, and a corpse still warm. Welcome to Astor Place, where the blood runs blue, but the secrets are deadlier than the poison in the chalice. The locals of Blackwood Harbor always said the Astor Place mansion wasn't built on stone, but on secrets. It sat perched on the jagged cliffs like a vulture waiting to feed, its Gothic spires piercing the gray sky. But on the night of December 21st, during the worst blizzard the coast had seen in a century, the mansion finally claimed its meal. Inside, the dining room was a theater of tension. At the head of the mahogany table sat Silas Astor, the patriarch. Silas was a man who loved his money more than his children and his reputation more than his soul. To his right sat Eleanor, his wife of 30 years, a woman whose smile was as brittle as antique china. To his left, Julian, the prodigal son, whose gambling debts were the only thing growing faster than the storm outside. And hovering in the shadows was Clara, the maid, who had been invisible to the family for a decade, until tonight. The clock on the mantel ticked, tick, tick, tick. Silas raised his glass for a toast. To family, he sneered, his voice dripping with irony. And to the new will I'll be signing tomorrow morning. I think you'll find the changes illuminating. Julian's knuckles turned white as he gripped his steak knife. Eleanor merely sipped her wine, her eyes fixed on the center of the table. Then it happened. A crack of thunder shook the house so violently the crystal chandelier swayed. The lights flickered once, twice, and died. For 10 agonizing seconds, the room was plunged into absolute pitch blackness. There was a gasp, the sharp scrape of a chair against the floorboards, and a wet, sickening thud. When the emergency generator kicked in and the lights buzzed back to life, the silence was deafening. Silas Astor was slumped forward, face down in his plate. But here's where the mystery begins. There was no knife in his back. There was no gunshot wound. There was only a single small drop of blood on his napkin and a look of terrified realization frozen on his face. The police arrived an hour later, fighting through the snowdrifts. The detective, a sharp-eyed woman named Miller, noted the scene. The doors were locked from the inside. The windows were sealed shut against the storm. It was the classic locked room, yet the killer was sitting right there. Julian was the obvious suspect. He needed the money before the will changed, but Miller noticed something strange. Julian's wine glass was full. Eleanor's was empty. But Silas, his glass was shattered on the floor. Miller knelt by the body. She touched the puddle of spilled liquid. It wasn't just wine. It was cold, ice cold. She looked up at the shivering family. The poison wasn't in the bottle, Miller announced, her voice cutting through the room. And it wasn't on a blade. Silas loved his whiskey on the rocks, but the ice machine in the kitchen has been broken for 2 days. She turned to the only person in the room who had access to the cellar freezer. The only person who knew exactly which ice tray Silas would demand for his nightcap. Clara, Miller said softly. The maid stepped forward, her invisibility finally fading. She didn't cry. She didn't run. She simply reached into her apron pocket and pulled out a small, empty vial. "He promised me," Clara whispered, her voice trembling not with fear, but with rage. "He promised my son would have a future. But tonight, when he talked about the will, I knew he lied. The ice didn't just chill his drink, detective. It preserved my secret until it melted." The murder at Astor Place wasn't about the millions in the bank. It was about the promises broken in the dark. As they led Clara away, the mansion stood silent once more, its hunger finally sated, leaving the remaining Astors to dine alone with their ghost.